And then when I realized, okay, well, I've been brainwashed or I've been indoctrinated, I didn't really understand that until I read I read Freedom of Mind first, and then I read Combating Cult Mind Control. And you explained very eloquently, specifically how someone can sit in a room and on day 3, because I don't know if you remember this from my book, but I was like, first 2 days, I was like, this is bullshit. What are you going to teach me? I hate Nancy's eyebrows. I hate the power suits. The food sucks. Like, I was really not into it. And by day 3, I was hooked. And then I read your book and I was like, oh.
I said the same thing. I thought this was really childish. I wanted out of there, and something happened on day 3 where I just got taken over. They had penetrated my defenses.
So can you just explain that a little bit more for our listeners about specifically how someone can be indoctrinated? And maybe you could also explain the difference between indoctrination, mind control, undue influence, all these terms that gets batted around in this field that we're not even totally clear on. Or are they all the same thing? It's just different ways of describing that process.
Several points. One is that we, as human beings, have this self-aligning function where we want to minimize conflict or dissonance. So if we're sitting in a room and we're having these negative thoughts about the room and we're having these negative feelings, but we don't leave the room or leave the workshop, there's a rationalizing function to justify our behavior. And at least in the Mooney indoctrination, there was a big up, like you're real so special and you're chosen and that's why you're here. And then there'd be a big downer about how everyone's suffering on the planet and you have a moral responsibility to save them. And then there's another up and then there's another down. But the bottom line is that your own inner voice, the one that says, this is crap, I want to leave, you are trained and indoctrinated to believe that's evil or that's not your authentic self, it's your lower self or your reactive mind, to use a Scientology term.
Or our disintegrations, in ESP to be our disintegrations.
Right. So the thing is the cult gets inside your head and you start and it is like a hacking, to use a computer term, or a virus, a mind virus that gets inside of our brain that corrupts our operating system, that says, now, wait a minute, I am my own adult self and I get to choose and I don't want to be here. So I am walking out the door, even though I've spent. And that's why they want you to pay a lot of money right up front, because you want to try to justify the expenses worth it.
Right.
And, so there's this cognitive dissonance piece that is happening. I want to just share quickly a comment from James Comey, not someone who I'm a fan of, but he did one of the best explanations of cognitive dissonance in talking about his time when he was FBI director. He said, when you're in the room and the guy at the head of the table tells a lie, and you think to yourself, that's a lie. And then he says another lie, and you say to yourself, that's a lie too. And then he tells another lie, and another lie, and another lie, and you don't challenge him on the lie or get up and walk out. He said, your soul bends. I just love that description, because that's really, when you see something that's not right, you want to act on it, and you want to keep coming back to, it's me, it's in my body, it's my life, it's my time, it's my money. I'm the consumer paying for this product. I'm not in service of them. They're in service of me. And exit. Okay, you got tricked. You ponied up $1,000 or $5,000. Your mind is worth more. Like, get out. Just walk out the door.
Yeah, I really didn't want to waste my money.
Yeah, well, you had some equity involved and you wanted to pay off and you were motivated to make it pay off, which is part of the con, right? You have to make the 5 days worth it.